Well, howdy there, y'all. Yamasaki here, and welcome back to the channel. And today is part 3 of the Toyota Trekker restoration. So let's go ahead and see what I've been up to on this old thing. Okie dokie, y'all. So if part 1 was getting it running, we did that. We did that pretty easily. Part 2 was about getting some of the panels put back on and getting it into more of one piece, you know. But part 3, well, that's a different story here. Because in part 3, well, it's about tearing it all back apart again just to replace a couple of pieces. You're probably like, what do you mean? Well, number 1, the windshield's getting replaced. I'm getting that replaced here real soon, so water does not kill this thing any further during the winter. Second, I just got done putting in the dash cover, the Coverlay dash cover that they make for these pickups. Just a plastic shell. Same thing I put on my truck. It goes over the existing foam one that's fallen apart. And you just use silicone. And you put some weight on it. You got to drill some holes out, but I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit for the defrost vents. And then you put the silicone on, slip it on, put some weight on it, and boom, you have yourself a brand spanking new dash. Hoorah! But in order to get to that step, I knew better, because on my truck I had to pretty much do the same thing. Tear out the entire dash. All the panels, the gauge cluster, the glove box, the whole works. The absolute whole works. And you know, it's not that terrible to do. Pretty much everything is held together with not machine screws, but you know, sheet metal screws. And you know, there's spots all over the place for everything, but the one tricky thing that I was not expecting was the climate control here. Now see, on my 80 it was way easier. This connects to the dash panel that goes right here in the center, which connects to the dash frame, which is metal right here, and then that is connected to the body. Well, in 82 they also changed that, because this one has a electronic switch. I mean, this one's a turn switch. The other one on my pickup would have been right here, and it would have been a toggle switch. But the worst design thing I've ever seen just so happens to be in this 82 Trekker. You see this, like I said, connected to the dash panel here, the bezel. So you got to get that off. But in order to get that bezel off, well, you got to unscrew it from this first. And the only way to do that is by somehow getting behind everything back here. Because the screws, well, they go in this way. They don't go in that way. They go in this way. And that makes it a pain in the butt, because you can see how little space I have to work with. See, there's the mounting holes right there. And then this piece is right in the way. I actually had to put my screwdriver through one of those holes, and I'm wondering if that's why they put those there in the first place. So that was not fun. But once I got that out and the cluster out, the cluster was a little bit of a bitch because of the speedometer cable. The one on my truck's aftermarket, and it's about half a foot longer or so, so I was able to pull the cluster out and see these wires, but wasn't that the case in this. And then they also changed the connectors for the gauge cluster as well. You got 3 big ones here instead of some small circular ones that my 80 has. But it's an 81 harness, so technically 81. 80 might have been completely different as well. But in 82, there's some more changes for you. So same truck, but yeah, they definitely changed and updated some things within that 1 year. But yeah, got that dash cover in. Got to tear all that out. I'll move on to these holes here. These are your defrost vent holes. You can see there. There's the hose, and there's the connector there that just pops up right there. And that runs back to your climate control unit, your heater core right there. You can see the hoses. Boom, boom. Well, this Coverlay here doesn't come with these drilled at all. So you got to do it on your own. And all I do is I just put the existing dash mat or dash cover in here, flip it up, find the right hole saw, drill it, and then I put a little slot right there because the little defrost thing's got a tiny little slot thing right there, and it just pops in there. And then, you know, it would have had a wire that would have gone there and held it down, but in my truck, well, hell, we'll just go to my truck. I'll show you because it's the same thing. So here is the example in my truck. See, it just goes right there, and the way you can pop these out, it's pretty easy now. Just got to figure out, it's been a while since I've taken this thing apart. Pop it through the back, and that slot comes out. Boom. You can see right there. There's that. But yeah, there would have been a wire that would have gone underneath the foam one. Just a simple piece of wire, and it would have, you know, compressed down onto a little notch right here. But you can see it's broken right there. But the way I do it, I put it in there. I line up that slot right there. Press down. And I can usually get it in. But it's going to fight me, of course. Come on, little bugger. You get in there now. There you go. Go home. Boom. It's in there. Isn't going anywhere. What the hell you need that wire for? But if any of you are wondering, this is what those little wires look like. They're there to keep that thing down and not fall out. And voila. There it is, folks. It's not perfect, and I still have more to do on it, but it actually looks pretty darn good from where it was. Those dash cover lays, those plastic shells, just do wonders to these pickups when those original ones just went to hell so bad. I really wish I had some good bezels. Yeah, unfortunately, these were the good ones. These are the wood grain ones. They're pretty sought after. They have been painted over. Everything was painted over in here. The original colors on this Trekker here was this brown scheme. You can see it here and on these vent covers. And this is still one of the original door panels, aside from the carpet. It was interesting because it has that two-tone color, brown and tan. So it's pretty interesting. But it was brown, the lighter brown color. My truck came standard with the tan color, and I wanted to give a little bit of that tan color back, so I just painted a couple of these parts that were painted black, but like I said, originally brown. So it would have been brown with a wood grain dash scheme. That actually would probably have looked beautiful. And then the brown steering wheel there. But yeah, it cleaned up real nice. Everything has new hardware, at least where it was needed. I still have to do the steering column, but that's the last piece. I think I might take these out. This still needs to be cleaned because, yeah, paint flaking, and it's only held on by half a bolt. And that was painted black, but that was actually painted so good, and it doesn't look like any of the paint's really chipping off of it. I think I might just clear coat that, and I think it would look really, really good. In other news, I was able to obtain a new set of beige or tan, whatever your preference is for this color. It's kind of an interesting color. I got some brand new sun visors, which is actually really cool, so I'm going to stick those in at some point, because this one physically is broken right there, and it will not bend, and it's ripped. So yeah, it was time for a new set of those. Another interesting thing I discovered in here is if you look up here, right there, see that? It's right up next to the vent here that allows fresh air into your heater core. Look at that. There's a stray wire, and up here somewhere too, there's one up there too. So the previous owners back in the 80s put a 80s style homemade inner LED kit in this thing. Oh man, I bet that's what those toggle switches are for. How about that? How about that? I'm gonna see if those are gonna fire up again when I get around to it. Hell yeah, that would be pretty darn sweet. Awesome upgrade. It's going to be easy to install and take out anytime I need for this little old Trekker, is to solve the issues of this fiberglass topper being supported. Now, as I've shown you in previous videos, it's cracking right around where the hinges are on each side, and they have been somewhat repaired, but didn't held up as well as it should have. But the reason why is because of the weight of this back hatch here. Now, what's on here now is plexiglass, so it's not as heavy as what actual glass would make it out to be, but still enough to make it to where there's so much weight that it's actually pulling down at least the whole middle here, and that's why it's making it crack here. Well, I was able to find this easy solution. Instead of building the whole exo cage in here, as my brother-in-law's Trekker has, you know, where he'd screw in to certain places on the fiberglass and everything, I was able to find these. These are cabinet support rods for when you're building houses. I figured they'd be perfect for this type of work. They can hold up to 132 pounds each, so that's more than what this thing needs, and I'm never going to be putting anything on it because it doesn't even have a way to put anything on it. And the way these work is you loosen it up right here, you extend it out to whatever length you need it to be, and then for finer adjustments you just pull this. Oops, slipped out of my hand. You pull this and it goes up, and then to release it, now you just push that up, push it down, and it comes out. And it comes with these feet here for the ball joints so they can be on at different angles. I figured, you know what, this is going to be a perfect solution to solving a really big problem on this thing. Once these are out of here, like I said, I'm going to build a giant wood floor out of a piece of plywood, and that'll make it to where the floor here is more supported. There's not just one particular spot where there's pressure coming down to where it'll crack or bow or anything like that. It'll be on the wood. And I think where I'm going to put them is right about here. Right about where that hinge is. Maybe in between the crack and the hinge is right about where it should be to be supported. And then that problem is going to go away. Another thing I forgot to show you guys is I actually put some weather stripping on here to prevent as much water from getting in as possible. I missed a couple of spots, but I've got another roll, and this is just temporary until I can get back on it. But I think it's 1 inch, pretty thick stuff, and you can see the outline of where it's been sitting. So it's sealing up pretty good. I had to cut a angle out here to allow the plexiglass to get through, but it works. It works. And I'll have it run all along here and everything like that. But yeah, it's just a couple more upgrades that I've made to this thing. It definitely doesn't look like much, y'all. You know, it's a really rough shaped truck. It's 43 years old. It was used the way it was intended to be used, so it definitely shows its signs of wear. But every time we fix something or put a new part on it or upgrade it in any way, it just gets 10 times better. And that, ladies and gentlemen, also includes a new windshield. Oh man, look at this new glass, y'all. Look at that. That is some pretty sharp looking glass right there. Got a new windshield put in today. The techs came out and installed it. I already had the seal. Had to buy that separately. I took the old one out, put the new one in. No more leaks from this thing. You guys remember how badly cracked that other one was. And the seal was no better. I mean, it was so rotted out, there were chunks missing out of the flipping thing. It was crazy. Yeah. That's one of the last steps. And then this one here. This here, I bought a new antenna for it to plug that hole. Because if snow gets down there, well, it's going to fall straight down here where they always rust. So, I'm going to Plug that, and it should be as sealed up as it's gonna get for the winter. Right on. Moving on in here to the interior again to look at another amazing thing aside from that. Oh, just look at it. I was actually able to find in my pile of parts out there in the shed some wood grain bezel components, both the centerpiece and this piece. Now I got this piece bolted up just fine, but sadly I can't use the centerpiece. Let me go grab it and I'll show you why. Okay, so here it is. There it is. Look at that thing. So this came out of that SR5 that my engine and transmission in my truck came from, as well as this piece. It was an SR5 model, and it looks like that was cut out as well, like most of them are, but I will accept this one this time because that is a clean cut right there. Alright, that is very clean. I can still see the silver, no jagged edges. I'll accept that one. That one's still in good shape. Now I was going to bolt this thing up, and I held it up right there. I'm like, yeah. Then I was like, oh no. See, the problem is with this bezel here, also lies within the climate control panel. Look real close at that one, alright? Now look real close at this one. They're completely different. Damn. You see, this SR5 one is actually way similar to my pickup truck's base model bezel. At least that's what I believe it has. The controls are all the same. The toggle's on that side. The controls are on the right. This one just so happens to have cooler volume option right there, which I'm sure that was air conditioning. Maybe I'm wrong. Remember, comment down below if anybody knows. But that's like the only difference. But it's way different than this one. And like I said, this one actually physically screws into this bezel here. This one, however, is molded in. So there's no way I can use this one unless I find the control panel for this bezel specifically and hook it up to my air cooler heater core right there. What else is different? The light is different as well. You can see that light is tiny compared to this big one here. That, and even if I wanted to use the toggle switch, I can't unless I solder it back together, because I believe when I was taking this out when I was a kid, well, the only option I was able to find at the time was to snip the wires. So, yep, this one's in good shape, but I cannot use it unless I find all the other components for it, which kind of sucks. It really, really does. But in other good news, I was able to find a tan or beige air vent for the center there. It's cracked on these mounts here, but it's not broken on these vent flaps. It's not painted like the other one was, so I went ahead and slapped that one on there. Still got to take the amp and voltmeter pod out, clean it, clear coat it. So it's going to be an interesting color combination of a little bit of black, some tan, and the carpet's kind of like an orangish brown or rust color. So I found some vinyl leather looking pleather stuff that's going to go up here and kind of match it. So it's kind of going to have like a three-tone color combination to it, but it's going to look really nice. It's going to look really nice. Also cleaned that out too, if you guys didn't notice. The whole gauge cluster is a little more shiny than it has been in the past. Means while I'm putting this away, I might as well show you the other part that I was able to find that I'm going to use. That is a nice mirror assembly in tan, which is what I'm looking for. And it looks like those holes are not wore out like the other one. The holes on the other one are like 10 times as big, at least on the mirror piece. This piece is separate from the mirror, but this one's been stuck for 40 years and it refuses to let go. But the glass is clean. Of course it's faded on the back, but a little scrubbing on that, maybe some clear coat on there. It'll be nice and fresh. And you know what? Being we're talking interior pieces, I might as well show you these new sun visors I got for this thing, because these things are sexy. Look at that, y'all. It's like the original material too that they would have used. Nice and shiny metal. That's all brand new and not faded and corroded to crap. Oh man, let's see. Where's the other one? Here's the good one. And there's an original one. Look at that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh hell, you know what? Beans we're out here. Just get these puppies installed. There. Much, much better now. Oh yeah. Looking sharp. And I also got an antenna in there now. Ended up taking the whole fender off, which I didn't need to do in the end, but, well, I just had to do it the hard way for myself. And I also did a little bit of rust prevention on this door. This door is getting kind of rusty down here on the very lip, at least halfway throughout. It's getting pretty rusty in spots, so I primed it just to make sure we stop that for a little bit. Now, some of you might have remembered me mentioning earlier in this video that the windshield, look at that thing. Oh, can't get enough of it. It looks so good. The windshield is the last step. And some of y'all might be thinking, what in the hell are you talking about, boy? The last step? The restoration's only begun on this thing. And you'd be absolutely correct. But unfortunately, I have to end the restoration series on this thing for this year. It's just been a really busy summer for me, and I barely had enough time to scrape together to, do what I could do on this thing, as we've all seen. And so it's only going to be, 7 months that this thing's going to have to sit or so until I can get back on it. And when I get back on it, well, we're going to finish it up then. We still got to paint the frame. I got to bed liner the inside here, repair all the fiberglass. Oh yeah, there's still plenty to do on this thing, folks. And I'm going to film every bit of it for y'all. Because you know what? Nobody knows what a Trekker is anymore. So I figured, might as well keep it on the radar for a little bit longer. And these things, it's one of the few concept cars that actually became a thing, which I thought was really cool. And with all that being said, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for this video. It's really unfortunate that I can't continue doing the restoration series on this Trekker, but this summer's been busy and it's almost over, and winter's going to be approaching pretty darn fast, and I won't have the time this winter to work on this thing, so it's going to have to wait until next summer. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for more content. And Yamasaki out. We'll see y'all later.